Mania, Royal Tanzania, Riabuki, Lima, Toya, Mapo, to a land child, to a land child. He has said, he has a good Planning for not probably. He has so young to see, yet I have not only. Yet I must have put it in your mother. Deal mother, later, Carver, later, not only. Many others can cover. Later, let the world later. Let me find a family to follow so we don't know that you are. The book I love you is these and second and the shout out. They are second and the turn and never seen the other. Indian the Maria Pavon Maya. China have a level among the Parari. China is among powers. India, Jana, and Omen, so you look up with you, St. John, so they say. He China, for the Tonga, Nalan, the land is sister. So I started to start in the clinic. Heaven and Yada is my honor. So the heaven, Yelp is the Lucy and I my honor, Yada. He seems in Kansara, that way time I'm hoping he seems not reply. The world said how to see it, and let him. For what is in charge of the Lumane, he was just beautiful, we are to the Lumano. A gono of you being a man, a gono. Let me what is Sarah, give a right trouble. And we everybody so much so Naria go Matari, and the Gono Bama appealing to the Guru Solution. Told that I wanted to say, you know, how much they do that. In another way, as I made on the so that's the I will do about it. Only I will do so that I can not do it. So I mean, there is a key to be a teaching shadow me about the mother of a sister. She will be by another sister in shadow me. According to my There are good of you to achieve something of Makana, you see what you see, you see it. So much I keep you here. So much I keep you here, I know you tell them the line. I don't know, look you have. Papa, tell you what it is your part. You can do it. Let us do it somehow. Find out how don't expect I know what to go. လမ်းကြောက်တဲ့ခါမှာလည်းကြောင်းနဲ့ဆက်ပြီးဒီနားပါလေဒီကတော့ကြောက်မှုတွေဖြစ်အောင်ကြောင်းနဲ့ဆက်ရတာအတီးတီးကြောက်မှုလမ်းမှုကြောက်မှုတွေပေါ်လာလို့ရှိရင်မိအောင်မှတ်ရတာကြောင်းနဲ့ဆက်ပြီးတော့မှတ်ရတာဝိရိယကတစ်ခါကြောက်လို့ရှိရင်ဝိရိယက22သက်ပါနေတာကြောက်ဖြစ်ရတယ်လို့ရတဲ့ဝိရိယကြောက်တဲ့ကာလမှာအဲ့ဒါလေးမိအောင်မှတ်ရတဲ့ဝိရိယတွေသိကောင်းတာဆိုတော့ထိုင်ပြီးတော့ဖတ်တဲ့အခါမှာတော့တခါတော့ထိုင်ပြီးတော့စိတ်ပေါ်လို့ထိုင်ကြပြီးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့စိတ်ကထိုင်ဖို့ရအတွက်ဘာမှအထူးကြောင့်တော့လို့တော့မှန်တယ်ဝိရိယလောက်ပါပဲဒီကတော့ဝိရိယက20ပါးလို့ဆိုတာဝိရိယသိကောင်းမှလည်းပါအဲ့လိုဝိရိယကောင်းမှုလည်းပဲသိရရှိပါတယ်
Among the four great pastures, the four major pastures of walking, standing, sitting, and lying down, Sayadawgyi spoke yesterday about how to observe when standing, how one, prior to the standing, one observes every lifting, every moving, every placing, applying effort and accurate aim. Every step that one makes, there should be the factors of observation present. And when one comes to the end of the walking path, Sayadawgyi explained how to observe the standing posture. But he omitted to say how one has to turn around. After reaching the end, one then has to observe the body turning around as it goes to face the other direction and go back along the walking path. In the turning, the entire body is involved in the turning. So it's important to put one's attention on the entire body when one does the turning. Nowadays, yogis don't do the walking meditation very well, and so Sayadawgyi has to explain a lot about it. When the concentration develops in the walking meditation is not good, then it doesn't bring benefit to the sitting meditation. So as we go from walking to sitting, we walk to our sitting place. And there are three grades of walking that Sayadawgyi mentioned: observing left step, right step, or lifting, placing, two parts, or observing lifting, moving and placing. Whichever level of walking we are doing, when we go back to our place, we observe carefully. And when we get to our sitting place, we come to a standing posture again and observe the standing. And then one needs to observe the process of going from the standing posture to the sitting down posture. Bit by bit, inch by inch, the whole body sits down. So one has to observe this bit by bit. Not sit down just all of a sudden. One has to sit down gradually, like a sick person would do. And if one observes in this way, then one will come to understand the true nature which is involved in the process of going from standing to sitting. And when one is sitting down, all the adjustments that one needs to make to one's posture until one is completely seated. For example, even adjusting one's shawl if one's cold, moving one's hands so that they're in position. All these things have to be observed. And when there's no more movement that one needs to make, one's posture is in the sitting posture and still, then as usual one puts one's attention on the abdomen to observe the rising and the falling. And when this becomes easy, when this exercise that we are doing becomes easy, then the teacher has to give the student something else to make it a little bit harder. And so sometimes the teachers tell the yogis to observe the sitting posture, the entire body sitting. And the sitting posture itself is a very large area. So sometimes the teachers add a further point to observe, which is the touching point. A touching point should be something that is quite obvious. The teachers will instruct the yogi how to do it. It could be the buttocks or some other place, like the hands touching. It is very obvious. And when it becomes easy to observe these additional points as well as rising and falling, then the teacher may instruct the yogi to observe more and more touch points all over the body. So the meditation teacher has to see the yogi's situation and give the guidance as to what to do. And the yogi, on their part, should do as instructed. So in doing this, one needs to work suitably. During the sitting, one doesn't have to make a lot of effort to observe in the sitting, but in walking, there's a lot of effort involved, because not only does one have to observe the lifting on time, the moving, the placing, one has to catch these movements at the moment they occur. In addition, one has to make the physical effort to do the movements. So, making the effort to do the movements and to observe them as well. Therefore, there's two levels of effort involved in the walking. When one sits, there's the intention to sit down, and then one sits down, and then that's it. There's no special need to keep on making effort to maintain the sitting posture. But in walking, there's these two levels of effort involved, and it's very important to make the effort involved in walking good.
Guru Chitain Masu Aloha. The Gua Mikanam, Mateta Amagon, Sadawuya, Saditumari, Panya, Titan, Alta Sanama, Kipuya, a Sauko Yosa, Satu of Yoga. Korea people to Najuna Tiari. Two people to Sanaji, took the God of us, the guy who is hello, let's say, Yanki of Ma, Secretary of you to the Kivu Lore. Secretary of Tamanatama, Sin of Sister Babu Lore. So you know, Secretary of Joby Babi. I was in time of the time of the Sapphire, Korea, for Sitting Yoga. Come out with Jane for a woman. And yet the other star, the one of the end of the summer, Ludore Harry, such zero. Ludare is good what we should see. Yana Juri level set your Dhamma to our Java. It was Sapayatri, I cannot have a woman. This is such a thing and such a threat. Thing to Mamu to the one of the Hotava. The other Nakamohoti. Please see God and the Lands of Lida Taliban. Please see the donor. Yes, so the Christy Dwar with the Christy donor. So don't have a more. Shall let you for you. For you. You will be Sarah, the sound of a Chaulia. More than two. So we don't know what we don't know. The being at a winner, being on a pillar. Only on a pillar. Who not in a shelter, one day more. A little bit better. A little bit, but only some silver. So that the other days of my senior so living at her. Go young, so we don't see it, and you get out. Please don't say, one and two. Every few are up in my own yard. At the next come over what is now. To hear of Brana come over what is Brana Sura. Don't have such a lower alone. Good donor, six donor. Good water, none is sad. Sometimes in the top on it. Thinking lower alone. Who knows the lower alone is a bit of long young. This is the lower alone. That is the river. A little low, but I'm not looking for water. So I landed Saturday. So I landed Saturday. Salaria, you will be a father. There are the meal of Mapuya, they will be a father. Every Brana for it. Some just say, will you allow the Seta Agone, Brana Kamo to Brana? Loveland Swan, what is Brana, come out of Loveland Swan. Sorry, they call now. So the book, but my children, you are.
And now, doing the work of observing every arising object in one's being, we are working to create the qualities of faith, effort, sati, samadhi, and panya, to bring them into being when they are not yet there, and to make these powers keen, strong, and clear. There are 9 causes, and Sayadawgyi started to speak about these 9 causes for making the ruling powers keen and strong. The first of these is to understand and to believe that in our being, all the things that arise in our being, they arise and pass away continually. The mind and matter that is in us. So we have to understand and accept this from the start, that this is the case. And in doing the practice of observing what is in our being, we have to do this practice with respect. And also we have to do the practice with an effort to make one observation and another continuous, so that our effort to observe is constant. And the fourth cause of these 9 causes for making the ruling faculties seeing is to work suitably. However, Sayadawgyi wants to speak more about the walking meditation to explain the benefits that one gains by doing it the way it needs to be done. And so for the moment, Sayadawgyi is going to leave aside the topic of suitability, working suitability, and explain that when one observes the walking meditation carefully, then one gains 5 benefits. And the first of these is adhana kamo hoti, that one becomes able to undertake long journeys. When people go somewhere on foot, if one is used to doing walking meditation, then one has the stamina to travel without being tired. And this is a very practical thing. Sayadawgyi explained that in the past he was able to walk around quite a lot, walk around this monastery without being tired. It was quite easy. And now he's not able to do this. He no longer has the practice or the custom of walking a lot. That's been interrupted. So for him it's no longer possible to walk around as he used to. But when one has the habit of doing walking meditation and doing it carefully, then when one needs to go on a trip, when one needs to walk someplace, then one has the stamina to do so, to go on a long trip. The second benefit gained from doing the walking meditation carefully is padhana kamo hoti, that when one needs to make mental and physical effort to do something, one is able to do so. One is able to do work that involves making effort, doing the work quickly, doing the work ardently. This type of work is called padhana. And one is able to do this type of task because doing the walking meditation, every lifting, every moving, every placing involves ordinary effort to make the movements, as well as the effort to observe. And in this way, it gives us the ability to make concerted effort, which is padhana. Our ability to do this becomes strong. So these are the first 2 benefits that the Buddha described as coming from doing walking meditation.
သုံးခုမျိုးအကျိုးကတော့အပ္ပပါရောဟောတိအပ္ပဒဆိုတာအနာယောဂပေါ့ခန္ဓာကမကောင်းခံစားရတော့လေပေါ့အရိယဘုဒ္ဓလူတဲ့နေထိုင်ပြီးဒီမဲ့ရက်ကြည့်နေမယ်အိတ်ကြည့်နေမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့တွေးပြီးလက်ပါလုံးဝမကောင်းဘူးထဲလို့ကြည့်တဲ့လူသားမှာထိုင်နှမ်းနဲ့ပဲသိရမယ်ဆိုတော့ရက်လို့ကြည့်တဲ့လူသားမှာရက်တယ်နဲ့ပဲသိရမယ်ရှားရောကလည်းမသိဘူးအိတ်လို့ကြည့်တဲ့လူသားမှာအိတ်တယ်နဲ့ပဲသိရမယ်ဆိုတော့ပရိယပုဂ္ဂိုလ်မပြရတော့တွေးသွားလာလက်ပါလုံးမကောင်းဘူးဒီတော့ဒီနဲ့လျှောက်ရလို့ရှိရင်ဒီကိုယ်လုံးကတွေးလက်ပါလုံးနေဟာညံ့ညံ့တော့ရှိတော့လက်ပါလုံးကိုကောင်းတော့တာတွေးလက်ပါလုံးကောင်းလို့ရှိရင်ကျမ်းမာရေးရတော့လိုရတော့တာပါဒါကလုံလောက်အောင်ဒီနဲ့ပြောပါတယ်ကျမ်းမာရေးလည်းရအောင်သမာဓိလည်းဖြစ်အောင်လို့လည်းမှာအပ္ပပါရောဟောတိနာယောဂဖြစ်နေ
The third benefit gained from doing walking meditation is described as apādhāto hoti. That abādho means disease. If we just stay in one posture, if we just sit, or if we just stand, or if we just lie down, the blood circulation is affected. It becomes weak and poor. So if we do one posture too long, it's even possible to die in that posture because the blood circulation is bad from keeping that one posture. When one does walking meditation and does it enough, then one's blood circulation becomes good, and that automatically brings good health. So both for health and for samadhi, one should do sufficient walking meditation. And this benefit is one becomes free of disease.
Sita, Pita, Kaita, Sayita, Prinama, Gacchati. This is somebody, I mean, Mukha Westa, Tesara. Because Chanaya Sar and Yanu, Tausaya Yanu, Saja, Tausaya, Dalu, Sadhana Haru, Sati, limited and military, Saya Mutijamu, the attempt to travel to see a little man. The senior Savan, Sadhana Asa. Mama Kanga was a champion of Chile. Sajida say you want to look on it. Want to look on the crown on the crowd of the door of the Vasiva. Cognitive yoga, yoga at the Dali or the work. So yoga no sin and rule is over. Rajab Sisi like Hello. Sadhana ko wena re so lo shi ye Sandiya Uche ma lunga pho uti cheka mano uti ya shi do nane so ta bi so lo shi ye ya re mo wen de be na shi nya chok ta de lo so ba ta ma so ma di do samadhi so the time ko le adi shi nya chok ta to Puriya Kauna.
Asitang, Kaitang, Pitang, Saitang, Parinamang, Gacchati. Is said the fourth benefit is that whatever one eats, asitang, kaitang is what one chews, pitang is what we drink, kaitang, saitang, what things that are licked, things that are chewed, all the things that we eat every day, they can be digested well if we do walking meditation. If after we eat we just stay still, then our food won't digest well. So it's good to do walking after one eats. This helps, the movement helps us to digest the food. And it's said that if one's bowels are good, then one's head will also be good. That it affects the mind to have good digestion. In the olden days, the monks would ordain because they wanted to gain liberation from the suffering of samsara. So after eating their midday meal, they wouldn't go lie on their bed and rest. They would do walking meditation. And this practice makes effort very good.
Yo we are really people are Poma Ataya. The lady Spanish level Poma to be tired. Poma to be tired. So a number of ladies are Poma City, ready for my self. Yo would have to be the body of the sister. Guru Drisa near the Pavi to the Shire. Usually, Jordan Pavido, Saudi, Buddha outside. Some who certainly India, mother, Mamu. Goma Sajaka, Kalia Samari. There are Bhavana Sate, Samari Bhavati. So much as you Samari Padalo body. So that I thought you say as I say, another tomato, chili. That is my second None for Malati Diamond. Newsletter for Malati Diamond. So I don't know. Would be outside with the further see how much is second channel. So I think I want to get out somebody for it. So I lunch a few words to Jimson. Yo, Samari Bagalo, Pavanane, Patate Samari Bole. The secretary of my father Samari, the Sigma Samari for it. The good little sister, for the the Gujarani network in Bama Amsi. Savimaro, the word is Takina, Samari by the station, she knows sister maybe to the children. I always call her Somali Silla. That is Kanika Samari, Yat Sigmati Samari. See that city go for the Tashi Khan. So don't have maybe a joke where we look at the Solavadama. There are Indian daughters and holy Naguria Usuva. Now, the Indian common subject of the Solution. Somebody called a thing and live in the secret of that year. I will go with you. Indian Mamma Soko for you to do that. The one who does it, TV, what they're doing. Saya Anina, Bodia, Kaina, Mahobahu.
To make ordinary movements, the ordinary movements of lifting, of moving, and placing, one needs to make regular effort, ordinary effort, and apply awareness in an ordinary way. And then the mind will fall collectedly on that object, just when we do it in an ordinary way. And when we observe with the method of Satipatthana, we try to observe the movements, lifting, moving, and placing, from the very start to the finish. We apply ardent effort so as not to forget the object, so that we don't lose sight of the object. And the mind falls collectedly on the object. This is the samadhi that comes from developing the mind, bhavana samadhi. So just as in the lifting, ordinary samadhi is involved, so there is also the effort involved of observing the object making our observation continuous. One tries to observe not only the lifting, but then the moving, the placing. And in each part, the mind falls collectively on the object. So this samadhi that is gained during walking is called Singamadhikato samadhi. One gains samadhi during the walking meditation. So just by doing ordinary movements, one has ordinary samadhi. But when we do them with developing observation also, we gain bhavana samadhi, the samadhi from bhavana. And when we try to make our observation of each movement, every lifting, every moving, every placing, to make them occur without a gap, so that our observation is constant, then there is power. Our observation becomes powerful. So in just one moment of observation, the power is not very great. But when we make the effort to observe them again and again without a gap, so when our observation is constant, then amazing power is developed. So one develops kanika samadhi during the walking meditation, and this concentration, it is said, is siratitiko hoti, that it is long-lasting, it is strong, it doesn't fade easily. Yogis who practice carefully are able to, and do the walking meditation carefully, can develop good samadhi, and their knowledge is clear. And therefore Sayadawgyi is urging the yogis as a Dhamma relative to do the walking meditation regularly. Speaking not as a teacher on high, but as your relative who wants you to gain this.
Zinaတရားအထုတ်ရေးမှာအထောက်အကူပေးတယ်လို့ပြောတယ်။အခြားဆွဲဆုံးအထောက်အကူတွေလိုတဲ့အထောက်အကူတွေဒီပြည့်စုံလာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အတိုင်းနဲ့တော့ပေါ့။ဒီကျေရဲ့လှုပ်ထောက်မှုတွေပေါ့လေ။အဲဒါပါဠိလိုတော့သဗ္ဗယသိရိယာလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်။စိတ်တဲ့လျောက်ကမှုပြုခြင်းနဲ့တရားအထုတ်ရေးမှာအောင်မြင်အထုတ်နိုင်ရေးအတွက်ဟောလို့အရှင်ကျတဲ့အရာတွေကိုဟောလို့လူနေဖြစ်ရတာအဲ့ဒါဆွဲဆုံးအကြောင်းလေးတွေဒီမှာပါလာပါလေ
In meditation, the walking is a support. And if there are other supports also that need to be complete so that one will be able to work suitably. And what is suitable is called sapaya. In meditation, for one's work to be complete, one needs to have things which are suitable.
အခုယောဂီရောက်ရဌာနရှိမယ်ဆိုရင်အာဝဆသဗ္ဗယဆိုတာပါသမာဓိပညာကြီးရမယ်တော့အောင်လူသားသူဆောင်နေဖို့လည်းဒါကြီးသိစိတ်ပါလေနေရာထိုင်ရင်အဖြစ်ဖြစ်ပါတယ်အာဝဆသဗ္ဗယဖြစ်ပါတယ်ဒီကတော့ဒါလည်းကောင်းပါလားကိုယ်ကျတော့သဗ္ဗယဆိုကိုယ်ကျတော့သဗ္ဗယဆိုတော့ယောဂီတွေစိတ္တပြည့်လို့တဲ့နေရာမှာမဖြစ်သားရဘူးမထက်လည်းမတွားရဘူးစိတ်ဓာတ်ကြီးဆောင်ရတယ် ဒီမှာကရုပ်ရည်ကြီးနေတဲ့နေရာဌာနဆိုတော့ဒီပဏိတာဘာမှတောဆန်းရိပ်တာဟာသူတို့ရှင်ကြီးအစ်စားရဌာနအစ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေဘယ်သွားပေါ့လေတိတိကျဖြစ်เสียမရှိတရားထုတ်ရံအတွက်အထောက်အကူတွေရှိကြတော့ပဲဒီမှာဒီတော့တစ်ချက်ကြည့်လိုက်လို့ရှိရင်ရုပ်ရည်ကြီးချက်စားမှတစ်ချက်ကြည့်လိုက်လို့ရှိရင်လည်းကိုယ်ကျတော့ဖတ်ပါရဖြစ်ပါလေစာရေးတော်ရေးကြည့်မယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းကိုယ်စားနေတဲ့သိမြတ်တဲ့အစာမရဘူးလေလို့တရားအထုတ်ရေးမှာအဖြစ်စီတဲ့အစာတွေတော့သိမြတ်တဲ့အစာတွေတော့ပါပါလေအဝါဆိုကိုယ်ဆိုတော့ဘာသာအဲဒီဘာသာဆိုတော့လေခုနစကားပြောဓမ္မမိတ်ဆွေတွေကသိတယ်လို့ပေါ့လေတရားဟောပြီးတော့အခုယူတွေ့တာရှိတယ်ဒီလိုအထုတ်ပုံနဲ့ဆက်ပြီးတော့ဆွေးနွေးတာရှိတယ်စစ်တော်တဲ့အားပေးတဲ့တရားလေးတွေဘာသာဆက်ပါရလို့ရှိပါတယ်ဓမ္မဒါညင်းလို့မရပါဘူး
The place where the yogis are practicing now is a place that is free enough of the sounds of people. It's enough for concentration and knowledge to arise. So this place is a suitable place. And Gochara Sapaya, that means that one shouldn't go to places where kilesas are likely to arise. And as this center is a place where good people come, it doesn't have anything going on here that is likely to arouse kilesas. So one can say that Gochara Sapaya, the suitability of resort, is present. And there's also Basa Sapaya, that means suitable speech. Dhamma friends give Dhamma talks and meet with the yogis to discuss the practice and interviews. So there's giving of suitable speech during the retreat. So this also is present, it can't be denied. And Sayadawgyi started also to speak about suitability of food, Bhojana Sapaya, that although it's not what we're used to, but it's enough for practice.
ဒီတော့ပုဂ္ဂလသဗ္ဗာယပဲဒီလာပြီးအထုတ်ကြတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေဟာဒီချင်းဒီပါအထူးသဖြင့်ဒီပါကရုံးရည်တွေများကြပါလေလူမျိုးချင်းမတူစကားပြောတာချင်းမတူရည်ကြည်မှုချင်းမတူပေမဲ့လို့ဓမ္မပြည့်စပ်ဖို့ရာအတွက်လာရောက်ပြီးတော့အထုတ်ကြတာဖြစ်တော့ရှင်းရှင်းဟန်ကြံလို့မဟုတ်ဘူးကလနာမိတ်တာတွေပဲဓမ္မမိတ်ဆွေတွေပဲပုဂ္ဂလတပ္ပယလို့ဖြစ်တာပဲဘုရားအလိုကျသိသိမှဆိုတော့ဘုရားရဲ့ဝါဒတော်အတိုင်းတရားအထုရာမှာပေါ့လေလူလာတွေဖြစ်သင်္လာတွေဆက်မလိုတဲ့ဟာတွေထိတ်စားအကူကြီးပေးနေတာဒီတရားနဲ့အကူကြီးပေးနေတဲ့ဓမ္မမိတ်ဆွေတွေဒါတွေပေါ့ဒီပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ရဲ့အကုန်လုံးအတူတူတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေရောပြီးတော့လောကတရားတွေသိဆုံးပြတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေရောသဗ္ဗာယအစီအစဉ်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေပဲပုဂ္ဂလသဗ္ဗာယဆိုတာလည်းပဲရှိနေပါလေဒါတိတ်ရေးကြည့်ဟောတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂလသဗ္ဗာယပုဂ္ဂလသဗ္ဗာယရလို့ရှိရင်ကိုယ်စီတရားဘက်ကပေါ်လို့ညာနှုံးပြအကျိုးတွေရတယ်လို့ဒီလိုဆိုပါတယ်တရားကိုယ်ဟောတာပါပဲ
And then there is Pogala Sapaya, suitability of persons, people. So here, most of us are foreigners. There are some people from Myanmar. And all of us, our language, our culture, our backgrounds are different. But we all come here to practice the Dhamma. So we're not enemies. We can say Kalyana Metta, good spiritual friends, Dhamma friends. So the suitability of person is present. And according to the teaching of the Buddha, as explained by the late Most Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, the teachers are here to give what is needed to fill in the gaps, to provide what is necessary. And there are also many people involved in fulfilling what is necessary, and these people are suitable. It's very important to have Pugala Sapaya, or suitability of person. And the Buddha said that, in English this is mostly explained as, if one has a suitability of person, if one has a good friend, then 100% of the practice can be accomplished because of having suitable friends.
Another word of Bhasa Sapaya. Bhasa Sapaya is another word called Atto Vido. Yavadoda Mohapitari, Nijam. Nili Bori, every Nili Vivida to Mapiolida. A poor Mapavu. Yesterday, Pukuria, Netavia, Saturday, and time. Logi go. She said, I'm about so many of you. Koplo Huyo, Soyo Huyo, Dariha, Silvio, Yoto Abu Huli, a person Sapaya for the man. Dale Maluva, Maluya on a Pudu to the Vare.
And there is Bhasa Sapaya, the suitability of speech. The Buddha himself practiced and eliminated all the kilesas. The method that is taught is what he taught. There's nothing added to it as the teachers teach here. And the interviewed teachers, they discuss with the yogis. They don't interrogate the yogis. They discuss the practice with the yogis, and there are the Dhamma talks. So there's suitable encouragement by way of speech, and so this is not lacking. Sayadawgyi and the others make special effort.
Every Bhasa Sapaya Pia, who you do that, Pukula Sapaya, or the Kalena Meja, in one case of Sudan, Please don't let it go to the Vare. Said a Pugula Sapaya, the Yapa. Sort of the person like him as a Russian and ever. I will put you to my father. Yogi is standing there as a Mahoku Melu. They are told them now our body. They are a person and all that body, young and everybody level, Kaum Hope with Melo, Posana Sapaya, the Twitter, female, the Swam Havana.
So in order for there to be suitability of speech, Bhasa Sapaya, there needs to be pugala sapaya, suitability of person. And Sayadawgyi and the other teachers are trying their best to be fulfilled with the qualities of a good spiritual friend. And Sayadawgyi trusts that this is the case. With regard to food, suitability of food, although the food is not what the yogis may be used to eating, however, it is food that gives enough nourishment in order to do the practice, and therefore one can say that suitability of food is present. Bhojana sapaya.
Because the Josakana, somebody can allow a little either in Kilo. No matter what sounds have people mellow. Many name and silence, somebody can allow either in Kilo. Somebody can allow many name and silence to allow Kilo. Alone put it, take it in the solution, no. The Panditabhivamsa, those who are Utisapaya, she's like there to Ravana, Siavara, Utisapaya, the Sindivara, a poor Utu, no matter that Sindira.
This forest center is not too cold for our health. In Myanmar, the winter is not very cold, so it's not enough to affect our health, and it's also not too hot. So if one compares this with places that are very cold or places that are very hot, one can say that the weather here is quite favorable. So one has suitability of weather, udu sapaya.
Lazumara, Indriya sapaya. Ian Swami level Atomidam Hogu. Naka with Atomidam Hogu. Yakuda Atomidam Hogu, Yadajin. Kaiji Atomidam Hogu. Airport level Atomidam Hogu. To make that due to the Yaguma Lemidam Hogu. Toilet and the young body, a real book yata. So the valley toilet, and the China, that is the Yala. Namyata Savanira. Sapaya Iliabata Salasi, Sarado Yavikur and never a piece about it. Kalena Mita Sierra. Totally see a Mamata Sibido, Sadiabo Nata. Nevo Yogi Mata Sugar. Sapaya Kunyoga, Yogi Ma. Tata would be a typical Maria, integrated Teta, alcohol, in the Obio Reva, they do not in Navare. Sydney or Lagra, Kunaja, Golda, Yami, Tinto, Leopate, Kuna, Tapaya, Kunyo, whatever, Sunia Nephi. So that is Sinari, don't have a Tavakan Kalena Meta, TV to a piece of the Avare. Kalena Meta, a good Dovare, to a Hotel, however, to the train. They are so good as some of the Mata with a little some of the Yogi, Yosu Table TV. Single Hotel, should be able to do. However, Lone made on Timau. Take the minute of good to Marina. Because I will give the wheels of a city. Indriya take out over there. They will have to sit on the solution. Thoroughly, I have to account of it. Every time I set a bit of download. The Goa Mutanama, Matanga, that I would be a petit what is in Yaya. Sit it on the film, close out video. Out of the Yasi, Konatata, Sagi, Sierra, Mimico, what is out of the Tadon to go alone body? Also, our body, also you go to that and have a theatre. Living in the Tadon and the Pierre Sultan.
Last of all, there is suitability of posture, Indriya, Sapaya. Here we don't do only walking. We don't do only standing meditation. We don't do only sitting meditation. We don't do only lying meditation. And we don't deliberately change from one posture to another. One has to have a balance of posture. So we have time in the schedule for each type of meditation, for walking meditation, for there's sitting, moments of standing and lying down. So it is important to have a balance of postures, and although the meditation teacher can point this out, the yogis have the responsibility to maintain a suitable balance of posture. So there are 7 things that need to be suitable. Sayadawgyi has just spoken about 7 things that need to be suitable in order for the ruling powers of faith, effort, sati, samadhi, and panya to become keen, to become strong, and to become clear. These 7 types of suitability are the 4th causes for this to happen. And in this regard, one tries to do what is necessary to make things suitable. The teacher has the responsibility to point things out to the yogis. And particularly when the yogis come to report, to discuss their practice, the teacher has to make adjustments suitably. The teacher has to give feedback to the yogi. And Sayadawgyi believes that the instructions that are being given during the interviews are suitable. So if the first 4 causes of these 9 causes for the ruling powers to become keen, if these first 4 causes are present, then it's very satisfying. So Sayadawgyi hopes that all of you may try to develop the ruling powers of faith, sati, samadhi, faith, effort, sati, samadhi, and wisdom, to work to develop them, so that for one's entire life, one will gain the ability to master oneself. So that's all for today.